Welcome to the Million Gold Nuggets podcast, where us four dynamic women unite to share transformative insights on mindset, manifestation, spirituality, and the invaluable gems of wisdom that can elevate your life. We are parents, entrepreneurs, and friends from diverse corners of North America, passionate about sharing the lessons we've learned and implemented in our own journeys. Each week, join Nicole, Jennine, Leslie, and myself as we dive into heartfelt conversations that inspire and uplift, blending personal development strategies with practical wisdom. Whether you're aiming for success, seeking personal growth, or simply looking to fine-tune your mindset and energy, we've got the golden nuggets you need to turn your dreams into reality. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and prepare to soak up the insights that can spark your transformation. Together, let's forge a path to collective growth and expansion, because the journey to fulfillment is all about collecting those precious gold nuggets. Welcome to the show. Hey, ladies, how are we today?
All right.
Fantastic.
How are you?
Great, I'm doing good. I'm loving our new backgrounds. I'm sure most of you tuning in have noticed that it's a lot brighter, a little fresher. We got some color in there. We just decided, as we're kind of evolving, the whole universe is shifting. Why not create something different, right? To go with that new identity. So today we're diving more into the universal laws. So there's 12 of them. And so far we've been doing some of those. And today is about the law of compensation. So law of compensation is just basically kind of what we put out there is what we get, but more in terms of monetary. Well, actually, no, strike that. It's not only monetary. I know when we think compensation, I know at least for me, I just see like dollar signs, right? Like that's what first comes to mind. But it doesn't always work that way. So the old saying, you reap what you sow, which is kind of more like a biblical term. And I don't think it was always meant in a positive direction, but I think that's kind of what we're going for here with the universal laws in terms of the energy that you give out, to something is the energy that we're going to get back. So, teachers, right, just wanting to help others learn or maybe it's a life coach, right? Like they're just wanting to help more expansion, right? So they're going to get that compensation back because that's the energy in which they're putting out there. So can any of you ladies share a time in your life, or it could even be your business, where you gave without expectation and the universe compensated you in an unexpected or amplified way?
I can say that there's been times that I have given real estate advice to, let's say, recently a for sale by owner was just asking me questions about this, that, and the other regarding real estate. And I just freely gave him, some advice, things that I recommended, not even thinking about any kind of compensation. I just freely gave it. And as it turns out, a few weeks later, I received a gift and just not even expecting it. And so it came back to me in a way that I was totally, because I was genuinely serious about giving him the advice, freely and not, without any expectation at all back from him. And, I got a gift in the mail, which was a big surprise.
I love that. I love
That's
that. And
wonderful.
that was kind of my point, is that it doesn't always have to be, money for money or this for this. It oftentimes doesn't show up like that. But if we're truly in the energy of giving, right? Because you weren't looking at it as like, well, I'm gonna give him this advice and then he's gonna give me a gift, right? That probably wasn't even crossing your mind. But you were in that energy of having and the energy of just giving, and that it did come back to you. So I love that so much.
Yeah, I can just think of like what I do on a daily basis. Like when I'm out shopping, I'm always saying hi to the people that are serving me. How is your day going? How are you? Giving them a smile, and they smile back and they're really happy. And I think that just like that's the exchange, that compensation, right? For my energy, I'm uplifting them and they're bringing it back to me. But I can specifically remember just the other day I went in to a place called Popeyes, which is like a supplement store, to get some protein. And I wanted specifically like just packages that I could travel with, like so single servings. So I asked the guy, I said, like, you know, do you have any single serving stuff? And he goes, oh yeah, we have this over here, you can sample. And I said, no, I want to take it with me, you know, sealed up on the airplane. And he goes, oh, okay, hold on a second. So he goes to the back and he comes back and he brings like a sample for me. And he goes, here you go. And I said, oh, that's so nice of you. But I'm looking to buy like several of them. And he goes, oh, let me just go and see what I've got in the back. So he comes back with like 5 days worth of samples for me. And it was just the fact, like I had been talking to him, how's your day? You know, whatever it might be. And he was just, our conversation was so nice and friendly that he just decided that he would just give me all these samples for free.
Oh,
And I didn't, you know, I didn't say I wanted them all for free. I was looking to buy them so
yeah.
I could travel with them. So I think it's just like a daily interaction. Like I'm always get that feedback from other people. And I think it just makes their day, you know, instead of just standing there and having them check you out at the grocery, you're saying, hey, how's it going? You know, how much longer do you have left in your day or whatever, you know? So,
Absolutely. That's so lovely. I love that. I love that.
yeah,
But, and it's also too that you went into it not expecting like, hey, I'm gonna be nice to this guy and hopefully he'll give me stuff for free. Right? You were going
no,
with the energy of just wanting to be friendly, and then that's how it came about, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, I always find like you don't know what kind of day somebody has had. And for someone
Mhm.
just to say, how's your day going? How are you today? You know, they just kind of like, what? This person's asking me, like, you know, how my day is, and it just might make their day, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's beautiful. I had a well, one thing I can think about, I mean, there's several things that I can think about because we're always receiving. We also have to be aware of what it is. Like keep your eyes open because sometimes things come to you in strange ways, right? Like you get compensated in ways that is not necessarily monetary, right? So like you can give to somebody and receive in many different ways other than money. And so this one particular time I used to work retail, I used to manage a retail store, and I had given excellent customer service to this one woman, and she was having such a hard time. Her body had changed, and she wasn't feeling good about herself. And I spent a lot of time in the fitting room and just helping her and really building her up and encouraging her and helping her to feel um, good about herself now and the body she was in now. And she came back like the week later, and she had the most beautiful card thanking me for taking the time and making her feel so good and all those kinds of things. And she also gave me a chocolate bar too, because just for a little treat, right? But and it's not the size that matters, like it's the thought that matters, and that meant everything to me, right? Because I was just of course going a bit more above and beyond, right? Not just doing my job, but really caring about her and but not expecting anything. I care about people and I want people to feel good. And anyways, it came across and she really, really loved it and appreciated it. And then she became a customer for the entire time that I was there. So it was beautiful. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Like
So,
I can just think about like even just like at home, like if I do something, you know, if I make dinner or something, whatever in the house, my daughter is always like, you know, giving me hugs, saying thank you. And those are like, you know, just things that are coming back to you when you do, you know, nice things for other people, right? They just come back. So it's like a daily occurrence I find in my house. It just happens. And I don't ask for it. I don't say, oh yeah, every time I do something, you have to say thank you and give me a hug. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
But it's true, what goes around comes around, right? And you know, what you put out, you get back. And so yeah, what are you putting out there? What are you getting back? Kind of
it's
thing.
such a valuable question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that actually ties into my next question, which is, how do we stay aligned with the energy of service and trust in compensation, especially when the results aren't immediate? So, you know, this could be in business, this can be maybe with family, because I know it gets a little muddled with family, right? Things of that nature. So how do we really stay aligned in staying with that, right? Because you know, let's say we do things around the house as a mom or as a parent or, you know, spouse or whatever, right? And maybe you don't see the compensation, right, of what you want to see. So how can we stay aligned?
You know, for me, I think just knowing that this law exists is a way to stay aligned, because if you give good and you do good all the time, that's what's going to come back to you. So if you just stay in that mindset of good, that's what you're going to get. Just knowing the law, period.
Yeah, 100%. Just keep that in mind at all
Yeah,
times.
and trusting it as well. You know, trusting that this is a natural law that exists, and you know, whatever I put out, I'm going to get back in the way that I put it out there. The energy, the same energy that I put it out there, it's not going to be I'm not going to get it back the exact same way, but that energy that I put out there, um, whether it's positive or negative, that's what's going to come back.
Yeah.
And just knowing that, you know, for me, helps me change my life.
Mhm.
I love that, Jennine. And I love that you touched on like trusting, like having faith that what you're doing will come back to you. Timing is divine, right? So I think it's really important for us to cultivate patience, right? And we do that by keeping our mindset right, by practicing gratitude, by, you know, saying affirmations, things like that, just to stay in the right mind frame. Because when you're doing things and not seeing the return, if you're focusing on not having the return, then you're going to put more energy into not having the return versus waiting in joyful expectancy, right? We don't want to block what it is that we have coming back to us. So you know, having faith and trust and knowing that we will see it come back is the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, I like that you touched on like time and you know, there are gestation periods, right? So are there instant manifestations? Of course, but typically, right, there are gestation periods. So, you know, let's say you run a business and you're like, man, I've been posting on social media a lot. I'm not getting a lot of followers or likes or clients or whatever, right? Like knowing that there's that gestation period, right? Knowing that you're having faith and that it will come back to you and whatever, you know, right? But being in that the attitude of like service, right? Of service to others. And just yeah, keeping that in mind. And also about the is it the ice caps or the icebergs, right? That 90% of it is formed underneath the water. So looking on the outside, you're like, there's nothing happening, right? But knowing that it's more than half of it is happening underneath the surface where you can't even see So
Mm.
I love that visual because it just reminds me to be in faith and remember that it's, you know, like you said, divinely timed. So these things are happening, they're all coming to us. It's just not, you know, immediate.
And I think too, by staying present, right, and really taking joy in the journey, right? Because I think we're so focused on that end result that we fast forward through all the good stuff. Do you know what I mean? So the like part of the gift, in fact, I think the majority of the gift, I mean, of course, the end result is what we want, but the true gift is the journey, right? It's all of those things adding up to that end result. Like there's so much joy and pleasure and abundance that you get in the journey. So I think enjoying that, being patient, having faith, trust, gratitude, all those things, very important.
Love it. All right. Leslie, did you have anything?
No,
Okay.
it was all said so beautifully.
It was all said perfectly. So, talking about receiving and you know, law of timing and gestation and everything, how can we, I don't like to use the word block because I feel like that's its own belief. If I feel like I'm blocked, then I'm going to be blocked. But what could be something that we could be resisting from receiving what we've earned energetically, and also how can we how can we open up more to divine compensation?
I think it's just what we talked about was just having trust and faith in your journey, right? And just allowing that to unfold. You're taking your actions, you're, you know, living your best life, being your best person, having gratitude, you know, so just all of those just open you up for it to come into you. Now,
Mhm.
you know, we all, you know, what's important really is making sure that you're taking the action. You can't just sit back and say, okay, come to me, right? You've got to do something. You've got to be doing something in order to get something back, right?
Yeah, giving it's I always tell my kids, I'm like, life is all about, you know, helping others, giving to others, right? Creating an impact. In whatever way that may be, right? Maybe you don't have a business, or maybe, you know, you work a 9 to 5, or maybe you're a mom, or like whatever it may be, but like giving in some way to help create that impact for others. So for instance, myself and our next door neighbors, right? Like they don't have a lot of money, right? They kind of live a different story, but like, you know, they get stuff at garage sales that they see, or like things that are given to them, and they're all like, hey, would your boys like this, right? For me, I'll make them food, right? Or you know, these kinds of things. So it doesn't always have to be money. It doesn't always have to be, you know, these huge things, right? But it's all about the energy in which we are giving to others is how we're going to be compensated back, right? And the giving that we are having, and also the giving in just from pure love, right? Like I just genuinely want to make food for my neighbors because they always enjoy it, right? Things like that. um and I think
Well,
that's how we can be open to receiving more, is just being in the energy of giving. Because if we're feeling like, man, I don't have anything, can't give you anything because I got nothing, then the universe is like, okay, cool, we'll keep you in that. We'll keep you in not having, and, you know, blocking flow. Well, I don't want to say blocking, but right, kind of that resistance.
when you're giving, it's so fulfilling, right? So you're feeling good, you're letting out like your positive vibrations, your energy is up, you're vibrating at a really high level when you're giving because it feels so great. And so that's what you're going to start to get back, right? When,
Mhm.
you know, so, and it's very fulfilling. Like when you don't, and it's, you know, like it's almost like you can just have the purpose of giving to people, giving a smile, giving a helping hand, holding the door. You don't have to be giving money or food or objects. It's just all those little things that you can give, and you feel so fulfilled within inside of you. That's like your purpose, right? Everybody tries to find, oh, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? Well, the purpose is to just be kind and loving and nice to other people and help them whenever you can.
Yeah.
That's
Just giving what you know is needed, whether it is a smile or whether it is, a thing. Just, give out of the joy of your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that so much. And think about how good it feels to give, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is like being open to receive is also being willing to accept what others are prepared to give to you. Because oftentimes we'll be like, oh no, I'm good, right? Like, would you like some help? No, I got it, right? Like, oh, I've got this. Would you like to use it? No, I'm okay, right? Like, be open to
Mhm.
receiving, right? Because you know how good it feels when you give. So allow that feeling to, for somebody else to give to you so that they can then feel good and fulfilled by also giving, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not a one-sided street, as far as, the law of compensation. It's not only you giving, but just like you said, Nicole, being open to receive is allowing, the law of compensation to work for somebody else. And then if you turn that help down or that thing down, you know, that could be you blocking them. And, why do that? Just be open to receive. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it really muddles up the avenues to
Yeah.
receive from all different ways,
Yeah,
right?
because
So
you're saying no, and the universe is hearing you say no
mhm.
when it's ready to give to you, when it's your turn to receive. And
Yeah,
so how do you expect to receive anything, when you say no to this thing or that thing? So just be open and open-minded,
yeah,
that other people are involved with your decisions of, yes or no.
yeah, I love that.
Well, this has certainly been a valuable episode. Law of compensation, extremely important, giving, being of service to others. Thank you everyone for tuning into the Million Gold Nuggets podcast. If you got value of this episode or think someone would benefit from it, please hit the share button and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the little bell icon so you don't miss an episode. Until we meet again, remember the journey to fulfillment is all about collecting those precious gold nuggets. Bye for now.